And now, the host of your Average Bo's podcast, Bo Hodges. There's nothing average about 'em. Hello and welcome everybody to the Average Bo's podcast. I'm your host, Bo Hodges, and today we are going to jump right in, immediately talking about affirmative action. So for those of you who don't know, affirmative action is that little federal law that says business owners must hire a certain amount of minority groups, whether that be women, whether that be African Americans, whether it be Hispanics, whether it be Asians, whatever it is. The business must hire a certain amount, a certain percentage of their workforce must be of minority groups. Now, I am 100% against affirmative action. Affirmative action may have been something that was good in the 60s and the 70s, but it is not necessary today. Used to, you may have discriminated against someone because they were African American or because they were a woman. We do not have that issue today. Today, we need to be hiring the best people for the job. And affirmative action has seeped its way up into upper levels of government. We now see Joe Biden saying that my running mate is going to be a minority woman. Those are the first two requirements. Not that you must have graduated from a Ivy League college or that you have this much experience. No, it's that they must be a minority woman. Those are his first two requirements, a minority woman. He's not picking the best person for the job. He's picking a minority woman. Joe Biden, who is on a mental health decline, who, if elected president, I'm not sure will be able to complete his first term. I believe he will either resign before his first term is over or someone is going to invoke the 25th Amendment. Either way, I do not believe Joe Biden will complete his first term. So the person that he picks as his running mate needs to be someone who can run the country best after Joe Biden. Obviously, if he gets elected, the American people think that he can run the country best. So whoever his vice president is needs to be someone who can run the country second best to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who says things like,
"Know these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by go. You know the thing."
Don't worry though, I'm sure you guys know the thing. Affirmative action, I believe, comes from a different culture, the cancel culture. The culture that says if this offends someone, it must be canceled. You know, the Washington Post tweeted just days ago, both namesakes of Washington and Lee University perpetrated racial terror. The school should be renamed. The Washington Post believes that the namesakes of Washington and Lee University, Washington University, the Washington Post believes that they should change the name of Washington University because they perpetrated racial terror. How does that even make sense? Why is the Washington Post not looking back at their own name and saying, maybe we should change our name first? Shouldn't they be leading the revolution? The cancel culture has gone after several things in the recent weeks, starting with Aunt Jemima syrup, Uncle Ben's rice, and Land O'Lakes butter. What I find really interesting about the Land O'Lakes butter is they took the Native American off of it, but they kept the land. Shouldn't that enrage them? In recent days, we essentially saw Nike cut their ties with the Washington Redskins. They removed all Washington Redskin merchandise from their website and team shops. So, Nike thinks that the Washington Redskins should be canceled, but they firmly believe it's okay for their company to continue profiting off of the backs of children in China who are working in sweatshops. How is that okay, Nike? We see athletes like LeBron James constantly speaking out on social issues. But when it comes to Nike, who pays him millions of dollars a year, he's silent. Why? Because he is profiting from Nike exploiting these children through sweatshops. It's such a double standard. But as I always say, if it weren't for double standards, the left wouldn't have any standards at all.
You have reached the 911 police emergency line. Due to defunding of the police department, we're sorry, but no one is here to take your call. If you're calling to report a rape, please press 1. To report a murder, press 2. To report a home invasion, press 3. For all other crimes, leave your name and number, and someone will get back to you. Our estimated wait time is currently 5 days. Goodbye.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve.
It's not very often that President Trump misspeaks and gives us the opportunity to make fun of something that he said. But last week during a speech, President Trump said,
totalitarianism.
Now, I don't care what anybody says, that's funny. My father and I watched that clip for probably 10 minutes the other day. That clip of Donald Trump saying,
totalitarianism.
We must fight and stop the spread of
totalitarianism.
Some members of the left took this opportunity to also laugh at Donald Trump. Honestly, I don't have a problem with them laughing. Like I said, me and my dad laughed. It was funny. But where I do have a problem is when Eric Swalwell tries to use this clip of Donald Trump saying,
totalitarianism.
to say that the president has cognitive decline and is unfit for office because he said,
totalitarianism.
Now, we all misspeak from time to time, and I want to take a minute to look at some of my favorite slip of the tongues from President George W. Bush.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. These are big achievements for this country, and the people of Bulgaria ought to be proud of the achievements that they have achieved. America. Too many good docs are getting out of business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country. I oppose breaching those dams. I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully. If you're a single mother with 2 children, which is the toughest job in America as far as I'm concerned, and you're working hard to put food on your family.
But it's not just Republicans who misspeak sometimes. Look at Joe Biden.
We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts.
You know, the rapidly rising I don't know.
The only African American woman that ever been elected to the. We should be making those masks. We should be moving on those ventilators. We can do that. Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know,
I guess,
Donald Trump was
really
asked on.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I don't. I just can't figure the guy. I don't know. It's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask.
I'm back. I've been here a number of times. Last time was, I think, all the way back in 2014. But I've been here before that. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
Like I said, politicians misspeak, but there's a difference in saying
totalitarianism
and confusing your wife and your sister.
When I retired from the United States Navy, little did I know that my mission was just beginning. After serving the people of our country, it's time for me to continue my service for the people in our communities. I'm stepping up to the front line to work for families all across the First Coast, from Bernardino Beach and Hilliard to Jacksonville, down to St. Augustine, and everywhere in between. Are you ready to get to work with me? I'm Dr. Eric Aguilar, and I approve this message.
This past weekend, Stone Mountain was trending on Twitter. As I clicked on it to see what was going on, it turned out the Black militia group was protesting the largest Confederate memorial in the United States. They marched through Stone Mountain carrying AR-15s, stopping traffic, but they were doing so peacefully. Under Georgia law, they do have the right to carry weapons inside of Georgia state parks, as long as they have the permits necessary to do so. Conservatives on the right were outraged over the Black militia group marching through the streets carrying their AR-15s. I don't understand what the problem is. No conservative had an issue when Republicans were marching into Michigan's House of Representatives in order to reopen the state with their AR-15s. No. So why the double standard? As long as they were doing so peacefully, there's nothing wrong with it. And they were. They complied with park police and marched through on the designated path that the park police had set out for them. As I was looking through Twitter, I came across this tweet. Trump's race war appears to be on the verge of starting at Stone Mountain, Georgia, where black militia are peacefully protesting with assault rifles. I don't remember this happening under Obama. You don't remember peaceful protests under Obama? Me either. These are the protests that I remember under Barack Obama.
You are in the streets, blocking the roadway. You are unlawfully assembled. You need to disperse immediately or you will be subject to arrest. Do it now.
The McDonald's, the window was broken into again. We saw a couple other stores broken into and looted.
Tear gas has been thrown, water bottles we witnessed being thrown at police.
Tear gas. Tear gas. There's tear gas just dropped right near us. It's going to get very bad here if we don't have masks. Yeah, they're throwing it back. There are a lot of beanbags being shown at tear gas.
What you're looking at is the aftermath of the grand jury deciding not to indict Officer Wilson.
That's one police cruiser that is fully engulfed right now. And then if you just turn to your right, our photographer Snike DeMoss is going to get you the other cruiser. That one is almost finished burning.
It was mayhem. We saw these buildings catch on fire. This was a beauty supply store. And we watched it just burn to the ground.
The AutoZone is on fire. This is the third building within 2 blocks, and it is, destroyed. The building is basically collapsed. You can hear the explosions going on inside there from whatever is inside, whether it's... Sorry, I just got hit by a rock. I've been hit with much worse in my day. You're seeing the Tidal Max just up the street, right across, and that's another fire. And you're hearing the explosions from inside of some of those places.
Just to give you context, I don't want you to give you the sense that the entire city of Ferguson, that there's chaos, lots of areas are calm, people are inside, and that is really what we have been witnessing.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Not tear gas this time, just smoke. But to see another building here now on fire, to look over to my left to see some others that have been looted.
This is the New York Grill, another business here. They've broken into...
Right now I'm standing out beside the McDonald's and people are throwing stuff at me right now. People are throwing stuff at me right now. It's that kind of scene out here right now.
Police still using tear gas, still moving through the area. It's heartbreaking. The Brown family, the governor, the president, all speaking about nonviolence and about peace.
No justice! No.
And it's not very often that this happens, but I do agree with President Barack Obama when he said,
prying open doors to loot. They're not protesting. They're not making a statement. They're stealing. When they burn down a building, they're committing arson. And they're destroying and undermining businesses and opportunities in their own communities that rob jobs and opportunity from people in that area. So it is entirely appropriate that the mayor of Baltimore, who I spoke to yesterday, and the governor, who I spoke to yesterday, work to stop that kind of senseless violence.
Although I do find it ironic that the left, who has been pushing to ban deadly assault rifles for the last several years, are now carrying them in all of their protests. When they took over the autonomous zone in Washington, they were carrying AR-15s. Now we see the black militia marching through Stone Mountain carrying AR-15s. Why is it now acceptable to have an AR-15 when they have been pushing to ban them for so long? The NRA put out some new numbers for the first half of the year in 2020. The NRA new numbers show that there are 2 million first-time gun owners in the United States. Those are just people who are buying a gun for the first time. 2 million. Do you know who has the largest active military in the world? China. Guess how many members they have active duty? 2.18 million. New gun owners in the United States in the first half of the year 2020 make up the second largest active military in the world. That is why the Founding Fathers gave us the Second Amendment. That is why our right to keep and bear arms should always be protected. Because we, the American citizens, are the largest and greatest military in the world. We will never let our nation fall or crumble to an outside hand, because we know that we have the Second Amendment, and we know that we will protect this country no matter what the cost. So thank you everybody for listening, and for the first time ever watching the podcast. This has been the Average Bo's Podcast. I'm your host, Bo Hodges. We'll see you next time.